Hey, what's going on, Tackle Warehouse fans? Jake here with this week's episode of What's New TW. It's a very exciting week and a big day in the fishing industry. Today is day one of the ICAST show, and all this stuff is getting debuted today. So we got a ton of stuff. We got a marathon of an episode to go through today. So we got some of the hottest stuff. I mean, thanks to all our vendors. They sent us some samples and gave us a couple items that they had on hand so that we can make these episodes possible. But like I said, today's day one of ICAST, and make sure you go over to our YouTube channel and the website. We're doing tons of content and releasing tons of videos over the next few days, and you can go check everything out on our ICAST page at tacklewarehouse.com if you don't want to miss anything. So, first product we got here is from 13 Fishing. This is the new Muse 2 Black series of rods. They've updated this series of rods, and they did a phenomenal job. 13 Fishing knocked it out of the park on these ones. This is a sweet series of rods. So 13, you know, they got their whole fishing team together. You know, tons of pros, tons of guys that are just on their pro stat that don't fish on the professional circuits, but just a bunch of awesome fishermen. And they designed a whole new series of rods and updated these. So on the blanks, they're using a 40-ton Toray carbon fiber blank, Fuji K guides all the way up. And then they did these awesome reel seats. They did a split grip EVA. It feels really comfortable. But man, that one thing I wanted to note is the reel seat that they designed on here. It's got kind of a soft touch to it, and it's just incredibly comfortable. One of the most comfortable reels, or not reels, reel seats in a whole rod series I've ever felt. Just super, super stoked to check these out. They are insanely lightweight. I mean, when you hold these things in your hand, they're so well balanced, and that tip just floats. So they got the balance on them just right. They got that nice keeper system on the back, their snaggle tooth keeper system. They have a whole series of rods. You know, they worked with their pros and they got all the rods that they wanted, you know, all the way down from, I believe, a 7-1 medium up to, you know, those big, heavy flipping sticks and everything in between, you know, a whole series of spinning rods as well. So if you're looking for a new series of rods, make sure you check out that new 13 Muse 2 Black series. All right, bunch of reels that just came out today as well from Abu Garcia. The first one, this new Revo SX SS. So the SS stands for a shallow spool. When I first saw this reel, we got a box of it and just got it in a box, not an actual, you know, reel box with the information on it. You know, I thought it was going to be you know, like your standard, like a finesse style reel with that shallow spool. And then, you know, it's kind of odd because it had such big, you know, handle on it, and it was really beefed up and feels rock solid. So this new SX SS is a shallow spool reel that is made for heavy duty fishing. So flipping, punching, so you can load up braid on there. You got plenty of braid to, you know, flip and pitch. That shallow spool also makes it incredibly easy to skip with. So since you don't have all that line, that spool's a lot lighter, and you really reduce the inertia. So you can really just skip right under docks effortlessly. So really cool reel. You can load it up with fluorocarbon if you want for more lighter applications, for stuff that's a little bit harder to throw, but you've got tons of power. So big oversized knob on there. So you do flip or pitch, you know, punch right into a mat, you know, you got that big knob that you can really crank down and pull those fish out. You know, with the lighter stuff, with the fluorocarbon, you know, those light baits, that shallow spool just makes it a lot easier to cast. So really cool reel there from Abu Garcia. The next one is new spinning reels. This is a part of the new Zenon line. So the new Zenon MGX. Now this reminds me of the old the Revo MGX spinning reel, which I have. Very similar to it. Insanely light. So it weighs just over 5 ounces, and it's a full magnesium frame and body. And then they got the carbon fiber handle here on the side. It's super lightweight, incredibly smooth drag. Really cool features on it. You know, that nice gunmetal finish they put to it, but they put a nice drop shot keeper right here on the other side of the spool shaft, or the handle shaft. And if you're looking for something that's, you know, super lightweight, that's super finessey, something where you really need to detect just like the most subtle bites, you want to put it on the high-end spinning rod, that new Zenon MGX is going to be the way to go. And the last one we got here is, again, an extension of that Zenon line. This is the LTX BFS. So again, with that shallow spool, but this one is made for those really finessey kind of baits, and throwing them on bait casting equipment. So that's getting more and more popular. People are getting those really light action bait casting rods, and you're able to cast those really small, tiny baits on bait casting equipment, which previously you really had to throw that stuff on spinning gear. And now with this, the BFS gear, you can do that. You can put, forward 6-pound straight fluorocarbon on there and throw those really lightweight baits and throw it with a bait caster. It's so much fun. If you haven't tried it, you definitely need to try it out, especially with little swim baits and stuff like that, little crankbaits. It's incredibly fun. You're a little bit more efficient than a spinning rod as well. With this reel, this is another reel that they really did, magnesium frame and side plates on it. So again, it's super, super lightweight. And that incredibly shallow spool on there, I mean, that thing, you only hold about 50 yards of, I think, 6-pound line on there. So again, just holds that tiny bit of line, so you're really gearing it towards throwing those lightweight baits. We got it in left and right-handed, and this one I believe is an 8-to-1 gear ratio. So even though it is a small spool, you're still being able to pick up a decent amount of line with it. Carbon fiber handle, carbon fiber star drag on there. Just really cool reel if you're looking to get into bait finesse fishing. All right, let's move on to some Berkeley stuff. So we've got a bunch of cool Berkeley stuff, and we kind of got to film some videos with our guy Mike Iaconelli on this stuff. He's had his hands on it for a while, and we've got to check it out. Filmed some product videos for you guys, so make sure you go check out the product pages. He's got some really in-depth knowledge on some of these baits. This first one is their power switch. So this is a really cool bait. This is one of the middle sizes, but they make it down to one that's nearly a small crappie bait, and then all the way up to a 5 or 5.5 inch model that I believe has an ounce of lead up in the head of it. So they've really geared this bait towards fishing with your forward-facing sonar. So that's such a popular technique. You're going to see through all ICAST, there's a lot of baits really geared towards the forward-facing sonar fishing. So they made this bait. You can cast it out. You can really see it on your forward-facing sonar, and because there's a big piece of lead in there. And then in the middle of the body, on the clear, the more see-through patterns, they'll have kind of a liner of foil in the inside. So it helps reflect off those forward-facing sonar units, and then just mimics that small little bait fish. Here it's got that small, kind of a unique shaped tail. It's not real crazy kicking action. It just has a little bit subtle movement. But the way they've weighted this and the way they put the line tie, it stays perfectly horizontal. So you can throw out those fish that are suspended and twitch it all the way back, or you can drop it straight down and it actually spirals on the way down. It gets a really cool fall. And then you can jig it off the bottom, or you can just fish for suspended fish, right off the bottom. And that hook on there is set a little bit farther back than what you would typically see on maybe your soft bait trailer with a jig head. This gets that hook point a little bit farther back there for those fish that come up and just nip at it. So you get a great hookup ratio with that Berkeley Fusion 19 hook on there. All right, the next one we got from Berkeley is their new Power Stinger with the paddle tail on it, Power Stinger swim bait. So the Power Stinger came out, I believe, last year or the year before, and it just had a flat tail on it that they really made it for a vibrating jig. And now they've got that same profile and same body shape now with a paddle tail on it. So if you want to fish it on a straight jig head or something like that, it'll fish a little bit better than just the flat tail that's really geared towards the vibrating jig. You can still fish this one on a vibrating jig if you want, and that tail's just going to give you extra action. So your vibrating jig's going to have a ton of action on it. But man, this profile and the design with that honeycomb tail, just something a little bit different, and then you have that nice profile of a shad on there. It's going to be really cool to fish on a small jig head. Just adding to that lineup and that great power bait formula. They got them in regular colors and HD colors. So you get the HD shad, or you can get a more traditional color if you want. And the next one they got here is the new Shad E. So building on that gilly that they came out with a couple years ago, they have something that's more of a shad profile. This one really built to mimic those, gizzard shads and big threadfin shads. We got it in a couple sizes, and this is one of those HD colors I was just talking about, but you can get them in more traditional colors as well. If you watched our in-depth on the gilly with Iaconelli, he shows, all the different ways that you can rig these things, and this one is pretty much the same thing. You can put a hook through it sideways, and it runs up and down. You can put it on a belly hook. You can put it on a jig head. There's so many things that you can do with these baits. It's awesome. But now, just instead of having that more bluegill profile, Berkeley is expanding that and giving you a more shad profile. So something super realistic, going to get you a ton of bites. And the next one we got here, this is one that's pretty exciting as well. This is the new Nessie soft glide bait. We did film a pretty extensive product video with Iaconelli on this one as well, and he shows all the different retrieves you can do, and you know, all the different stuff this glide bait will do in the water, and it's pretty awesome. There's 3 different sizes. This is the largest of the 3. Now this soft glide, it has a harness system in it, and it's got a nice clip there, so it really locks that hook in there. So you can actually skip this bait undercover and skip it underneath docks and stuff, and it's gonna keep that hook in there until you hook a fish and then it pulls out. But you're not gonna have that hook flopping around and just entangling up your bait. So it is soft profile. It's got these nice fins on it, and that's just made to make the bait track. On the inside, there's a mesh insert, and that's what keeps that bait together since it is a soft bait. And like I said, you know, it's glide bait, but there's a bunch of stuff you can do with it. You can straight burn it. You can slow reel it and it'll glide side to side. You can twitch it and it'll dart off to the side. You can really, you know, aggressively pop the rod and then it'll fully turn around at the fish, or just do a full 360. It's really cool, and Iconelli really demonstrates all the things that you can do with that bait. Next up from Yamamoto, we got a bunch of stuff from Yamamoto. So we got a couple just to show you today, you know, just a little sampling of it, of their full ICAST release. But the first one is their new scope shad. Like I said, a lot of live scope baits out there this year, and this is another one from Yamamoto. So small shad profile with a super, super thin forked tail, so really finessey. Match this up with your favorite jig head, throw it out there, twitch it for the fish. You know, if you're fishing live sonar and they're out there suspended around brush piles, this is one of those baits that they made for that style of fishing. Or if you're not running live sonar, this is just a great bait fish imitator. You can run it on a drop shot or any kind of jig head. You know, just fishing you know, points, or you know, wherever fish are setting up at. Just a nice bait fish imitator. This one, probably one that most of the guys in the warehouse and in our office were most excited about. Now it looks familiar. This is the new 5-inch fat Cinco. So, you know, the 5-inch Cinco, probably one of the best fish catching baits of all time, no doubt about it. And now they're giving us a fatter version. So this new fat Cinco is actually 20% larger in diameter. So you can feel it. I mean, that 20% is substantial. It's heavy. So it's made out of the same formula that the original Cinco is made out of. So with that 20% larger diameter, it's going to cast a little bit farther because it's that heavy salt bait, but it's also going to sink a little bit faster as well. So you're going to get faster sink rate, cast a little bit farther. Since it's bigger, a little easier to see on your live sonar, and a little bit bigger, make it a little bit easier for the fish to see. But you know, they got you know, tons of all the great Yamamoto colors, but just something a little bit different, a little bit bigger than that regular 5-inch Cinco. Still comes in a 10-pack, which is awesome. We were stoked about that one. The next one here is their Oaky worm. Now this came out because a bunch of requests from their pro staff. They wanted a big profile finesse worm, and they got it. So this is a 10-inch worm, but this is made out of their super floater formula. So you know, when this one's down on the bottom, you put it on a mag shaky head or like your Carolina rig or something like that, and that tail is going to float up off the bottom. So it, you know, kind of looks like a Cinco on this first 5 inches, then it just elongates, and then you got that nice tapered tail up there that's gonna, you know, that little skinny part is gonna make this worm get a ton of action. So really geared towards finesse fishing, big, you know, big shaky heads, you know, get that tail up off the bottom. That's gonna get you a ton of bites. And the last one we got from Yamamoto is the Ichi worm, another 10-inch worm, but they're using that body of that 5.5-inch Slinko that came out last year, which I'm a huge fan of. Again, made out of that floating formula, and now they got a big ribbon tail on there. So when you're rigging this one on like your Texas rig or your Carolina rig with that floating formula, I mean, it's still going to sink. It's not going to float to the surface, but it's going to have a super, super slow fall, and that tail is going to barely kick, and all those ribs on there are going to have a nice bubble trail on it. Just a really cool worm. Glad to see Yamamoto just expanding their lineup with some more great shapes, and you know, changing up the materials to kind of suit different styles of fishing. All right, let's go into some stuff from Rapala. We got a whole new series of soft plastics from Rapala under a new brand called the Rapala Crush City, and all these soft plastics right here are designed in conjunction with Jacob Wheeler. That guy's been on a tear for many, many years now, and these are all shapes that he wanted and that he designed for his style of fishing. The first one is their Mare swim bait. Now this does come in a couple sizes. You know, nice paddle tail swim bait. Everyone needs one in their arsenal. Flat sides on it. Nice paddle tail. What's cool about this one, you know, got double. It's got the belly slot and the top hook slot. So when you want to rig this up on a belly weighted EWG hook, it sits in there really nice. That fin kind of keeps that hook point concealed back there in the back, just providing a little bit more weedless protection. But it's got that nice flat nose on it, so you can rig it up on a jig head just as well. Super versatile swim bait. Everyone needs in their arsenal. This next one here is their Freeloader, and probably the one that everyone's most excited about. This is the bait that he's been fishing a lot on a jig head on his forward-facing sonar, and every time he hooks a fish and he's been putting it in his hand and not showing anyone what it is and saying you have to wait before it comes out, well, it's finally here. So it's a 4.5 inch bait, and it's got kind of a similar profile up here in the front as the mare, that nice flat shad profile, transition to that super thin ribbed tail that's got that's kind of a bulbous pintail at the end. So really subtle action. You can do a lot of different stuff with it. It's a great trailer for like your vibrating jigs and your spinner baits. It's obviously deadly on a jig head if you're throwing it out in front of the boat and fishing for those fish on your live sonar systems. Or you can fish it on like an EWG hook, and you can fish it just like a soft plastic jerkbait. So super versatile, bait fish profile. Another one, this takes the place of a lot of different baits. You can throw these in your boat, and you don't have to have 10 different baits to do 10 different jobs. This one covers a lot of bases. This one here, cleanup craw. So nice craw bait. What he did with this is, it's a really large body on here, and it's got heavy ribbing on the back. So it just holds those hooks in there really, really well. Well, the back and the front is where there's a lot of ribbing on there. But what's cool about this craw is that, it's going to hold, your big flipping hooks in there, and they're not going to tear up as easy. And then down here on the claws, you break them apart. You got two big, large claws on there. Got really deep flanges on them, so these are going to kick like crazy. Loaded with scent, just an awesome craw bait. Cleanup craw. It's going to be good on your jig trailer. It's going to be good on a Texas rig, flip-in, Carolina rig. A million different things you can do with it. When it gets real tough, we got the Ned BLT. This is made out of a floating material as well. So this material, you get it on your jig head, and it's going to stand right up off the bottom. So no matter which way it's facing, those ribs are going to catch water and get this thing to move. And just awesome little bait. When it's really, really tough, the Ned bait is pretty hard to beat. Guys, it's not just for small fish. You guys catch big ones on it, and it's no secret that the Ned bait really does catch them. The last one here is the Bronco Bug. Now, this is a really unique bait that's, it's unlike a lot of craw baits on the market. Most craw baits you see, they have, two big claws on them, something similar to that. This has got a totally different design. So these flaps on the side, they're kind of like a set of chaps, really, the way they're shaped. But what's unique about this one, when you pull it through the water, those legs kind of kick up and down like that. And to me, it really mimics that action of when a crawdad is scooting along, the way they kick and the way their claws flap in the water. So it really mimics that. And they got the heavy ribbing on both sides, so it holds that hook really well. You can fish it on a jig if you want, Texas rig. You can throw it on a free rig. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. And they're loaded with scent as well. So just a bunch of really cool soft plastics. Make sure to check them out from Rapala, the Crush City stuff. So hard baits from Rapala. New Otts Garage Deep Tiny OG. So the Otts Garage, the OG series has been coming out. He's come out with a new bait, every year for the last few years, and the OG Tiny, I believe, came out last year or 2 years ago, and now we have a deep model of it. So the original Tiny only ran about 4 foot, that 3 to 4 foot range. This one's going to get you down about 7 feet. So just a longer bill with that same circuit board material on there. So it's real sharp, really crisp action. Premium balsa, flat-sided crankbait, so it's got that really tight wobble. And all the Otts Garage baits come with those nice VMC hybrid hooks on them, ready to fish right out of the package. That guy makes some really cool crankbaits, and he's designed some really cool stuff. And this one is a nice addition to the arsenal. I feel like this one's going to be good for maybe people who fish a little bit deeper reservoirs, especially out here in California. We like those 7-8 foot deep diving 7-8 foot diving crankbaits because most of our reservoirs, the banks are so steep, and you just need something to get you down there a little bit deeper most of the time to be able to cover water more efficiently. But again, really cool crankbait. Not only are these great when it's cold out, these catch them when there's a lot of pressure. when there's tons of people out there and there's, you know, the fish are getting fished at every day of the week, you know, those flat-sided crankbaits, especially a balsa crankbait, is the ticket for triggering a few more bites. Now, last up from Rapala, we got a new jerkbait. This is the Maverick 110. I mean, really cool jerkbait that Rapala came out with. And the first thing I noticed on this kind of ghosty color is the weight transfer on the inside. It's got 2 balls, and when you throw it, you know, cast it, they'll slide to the tail, and then they come up and lock in the front and lock into a magnet. But it's a ton of weight that transfers, so this thing casts like a bullet. And with the shape of it and all the weight in the front, the way it's balanced, the shape of that bill, really erratic, hard darting action, and then it's going to pause and suspend, nose down, and then so it maintains its depth really well and just really mimics that wounded bait fish. 3 sticky sharp hooks on there. It's got those VMC Redline series hooks that are insane sharp. They got that nice gray finish on them too, so they don't reflect like a black nickel hook would. So they're a little bit more stealthy, keeps the fish really focused on the bait. And I mean, those hooks are extremely, extremely sharp. So it's ready to fish right out of the box. So great jerk bait there from Rapala. From Nichols, we got the Nichols Big Larry Spoon. So this thing is awesome. You know, now in the summertime, this is kind of when the ledge season's going on and people are fishing these big spoons. This was designed in collaboration with Chris Saldame. And that guy's been fishing the big spoon and, you know, winning tournaments and, you know, catching tons of fish on those for a while. So they kind of, you know, asked him, looking at what kind of changes he wanted in the spoons that were out there on the market. And, I mean, they're big spoons. They're hard to tell about what's different with them. But this one, it has a more exaggerated cup to it. So it's just, when you compare it to other spoons on the market, it's just a little bit more aggressive in the way it's shaped. And that's going to give you, you know, that wider, you know, just more erratic fluttering action on the way down. But secondly, what that's going to do for you is when you're stroking them up off the bottom and ripping them off ledges, it's going to have a harder thump to it. So it's not going to just slide through the water. It's going to have more action, you know, when you're stroking it and trying to get those reaction bites. Big giant hook on there with the tensile on it, premium hardware all the way around. Already got the swivel installed on it, so you don't really need to upgrade anything on this one. It's ready to fish. There's a bunch of really cool colors in this spoon too. So if you're looking for a big spoon to fish out there on the ledges, check this one out from Nichols. Okay, we got a bunch of stuff from Spro. So the first one here is a Crawdad Nugget. And now this is you know, these style of baits are just getting more and more popular. These really heavy duty soft plastic or soft stick baits. And when I mean heavy duty, I mean like heavy in weight. They're super, super heavy. They're made to fish weightless on an EWG style hook, and they sink really fast. And the way they did this one, all with the detailing and the way they shaped it, they really did a good job of really actually making it look more like a crawdad, which is what they're supposed to imitate. And you can throw it weightless, it sinks to the bottom, and you can scoot it along. And this style of bait has just been getting more and more popular because people are catching tons of fish on them. You know, you can fish it kind of fast and get it down there and fish deeper water, but it's still like fishing a soft plastic stick bait. But it's heavier, it just sinks faster, a little bit faster and more efficient to fish. Next up from Spro, we got the Megalodon swim bait. Now this one's really cool. This one was designed by John Cruz. Did a really good job of getting kind of that gizzard shad profile to it. They've got some awesome colors. This plastic is super, super tough. And it's a harness style swim bait. So they got a nice Gamakatsu treble on there. You know, all premium hardware, all Spro components. They're super strong and super small. And it's got the magnet built in, so that hook sits right there against that magnet, tucks in right there next to those fins. Really cool swim bait. It's 6 inches. It has that big boot tail on there. So it's going to kick really good, but it's also going to roll side to side. So this thing's going to roll and get a nice body flash. If you're looking for something, you know, for trying to get a bigger bite, the Megalodon is the way to go. Last up from Spro, we got their Haint walking topwater bait. Now Sid from Spro sent this over to us. You can tell this one he was already fishing because he sent it over and there's still a piece of braid attached to the split rig. So they're out there fishing with these things and we needed stuff for the show and they sent it over to us so we can film. Now this is a bigger profile walking bait and it's super loud. The rattles that are inside, they make a ton of commotion. So it's got that big knocker in it and then it also weight transfers. So it's going to cast really good. Another thing right now is, you know, those, especially on those blueback herring lakes, when the spots are up schooling and chasing those things in the middle and you're chasing them around, trying to catch them on top water, that's going to be one you want to go with. Comes out of the box, 3 Gamakatsu hooks on there, so hookup ratios are going to be great. You know, when those fish are coming up schooling, they come up and they swipe at everything and they're, you know, blasting baits out of the water. That's going to help you catch a few more of those fish. Now, with the shape of it, it sits a little bit head up and it's incredibly easy to walk side to side. So a little bit bigger bait, going to help you cast a little bit farther. You know, easy to walk that thing. So when you're chasing around those schooling fish, check that one out there from Spro. Got a whole lineup of hooks from Mustad. So Mustad came out with a ton of hooks this year. And one of the series of hooks they came out with is their Alpha Point hook. So all these hooks feature that Alpha Point technology. And it's really hard to see it unless you're really looking at like a microscope of the hook points. But what they've done is they've changed the cone angles that are a little bit different from Mustad's Ultra Point hook. So it's a little bit steeper of an angle, but it's a little bit more elongated. And what that does is it dramatically increases hook penetration, and it makes them sharper. They're crazy sharp, but most of the time when you sacrifice for making a sharper hook, you're usually going to sacrifice some durability, but not with these hooks at all. So they're increasing the sharpness and durability over their Ultra Point technology. So, you know, just again, you know, increasing performance all around. All of them come with that Titan X coating on them. So as you can see in the package, they have that slick grade coating. So that increases hook penetration as well, but makes them a little bit more stealthier as well. Just, you know, blends into the background. Doesn't stand out as much as some of the other hooks. So there's all kinds of different hooks. There's flipping hooks, drop shot hooks, and there's you know, offsets, EWGs, so all different styles of hooks. And they got this new inline triple grip as well. So the triple grip is probably one of the best treble hooks ever created, one of the best selling hooks of all time for sure. This new inline triple grip, the way they shape the hook point, you're keeping 2 of those points perfectly in line with the line tie, but the shank is a little bit shorter and the gaps are a little bit wider. So you're really going to be able to upsize your hooks on your hard baits, but you're not going to have any issues with the hooks tangling up with like a standard, you know, longer shank round bend hook. So you're going to have all that gap and all that hooking power, you know, tucked up close to the bait. So dramatically going to increase your hookup ratio. And then with triple grips, you know, you're just going to keep them on. You know, just the fish landing ratios just go way up with that style of hook. Last up from Muse, we got a really sweet reel. We got the new Hyper Mag casting reel. This reel is insane light. We pulled it out of the box. I believe it's only 5.2 ounces. So full magnesium frame and body, aluminum spool on there. Super lightweight. Going to be really nice for casting small, lightweight lures. And this reel is super light and comfortable. So on those, you know, smaller baits, lighter jigs and stuff like that, it's going to be more comfortable to fish this all day long. Carbon fiber handle, got these new shape on their wind knobs. Really comfortable to fish. If you're looking for something to fish, you know, the lighter weight stuff makes easier to cast and just more comfortable to fish all day, Hyper Mag is going to be the way to go. Got, you know, all the great Lewis stuff, the speed keeper on there. You know, you got the speed dial on the side with the different kinds of lines so you can select on there. You know what kind of line you have. And then on the brake system, it's got a centrifugal and a magnetic on the outside, but they've recessed that into the palm so you don't even feel it on the side. And there's not going to be any issues with maybe accidentally turning the dial on a cast, and then your next cast you blow the spool out. It's nice and tucked in there out of the way, but super compact, low profile, ultra lightweight reel. Check that out from Lewis. All right, I know it was a lot to go over today. That's going to wrap up today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and for more information or to purchase or to pre-order any of this stuff, make sure to go over to tacklewarehouse.com. If you enjoyed this week's video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, let us know in the comments which one of these ICAST products you're most pumped about.